I think our education system these days is a direct reflection on like our teachers and environment, and I think as a whole we're not providing for teachers like we should be. This is our marriage. This is it. Welcome to Modern Parents Podcast.
I'm Danielle.
And I'm Vince.
And today you insisted on starting off the show with some bad dad jokes.
I couldn't help it. I found a couple. I went down like a whole rabbit hole
of course you did.
Dad jokes. So I figured it'd be a good way for everyone to start off their day by listening to some dad jokes. So I'm just gonna fire them off.
Dad jokes.
And you haven't seen these, so
no, I haven't.
I'm just gonna rapid fire them real quick.
Oh Lord, okay.
And the whole goal is to see how many get you laughing.
Okay, I'm gonna try not to laugh.
Yeah. All right, so some of these you might have heard, but the first one is, I'm afraid for the calendar.
Why?
Because its days are numbered.
Okay.
My wife said I should do lunges to stay in shape.
Why?
That would be a big step forward. Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing?
Why?
In case they get a hole in one. So that was a good one. The other ones were a little all right. That was a good one. All right. Singing in the shower is fun until you get soap in your mouth. Then it's a soap opera. These are good, man. These are gold. If April showers bring May flowers, what do May flowers bring? This is a history one. You got to know history on this one.
Okay, what?
Pilgrims.
Okay. Okay, that one was good.
You had to know some
the Mayflower,
history.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
How does dry skin affect you at work?
I don't know. I don't work.
You don't have any elbow grease to put into it. I like that. I don't work. That's nice. This one's just more of a statement. Dear math, grow up and solve your own problems. That one hits a little deeper, doesn't it?
I hate
math. What did the ocean say to the beach?
What?
Nothing. It just waved. Okay. I asked my dog, what's 2 minus 2? He said nothing.
Okay.
Okay, last one real quick, and then we'll get into some other stuff. So, I don't trust those trees.
Why?
They seem kind of shady.
Oh.
Okay. All right, I'm done now. All right. So, moving on. Now, one of the things, obviously, before we get into anything else, I just want to remind everybody that if you can help us out, support Modern Parents Podcast as we're still growing, trying to build this amazing community of not only parents, but just aunts and uncles and people who are going to become new parents, people that maybe have teenagers or maybe they're raising their grandkids, right? Mm-hmm. Just build this amazing community out there for everybody. So where can they find us at?
We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube.
Yep, and if you want to be real invested, you want some extra Modern Parents podcasts in your life, we have a Patreon. It's $5 a month, roughly about 16 cents a day, 15 cents a day. And what it does is it gives exclusive access to content that we're going to post on Patreon. Post it first, and we're going to have an exclusive episode on there. I try to do it every single week, and plus a bunch more, right? So when we finally decide to launch merch later on down the line, you'll get an exclusive code, all that kind of stuff. So big benefits there as it grows. You can see that at patreon.com/Modern Parents Podcast. So
Maybe more dad jokes on there.
Maybe more dad jokes, right? We're gonna get into some. I think we're gonna look for some couples memes next as well. So uh, you'll get a shot too. So, but this week's topic, we decided to talk about teachers and teaching and a whole bunch of different stuff. So you actually put the question out there to your teacher friends and kind of give us a breakdown of what it was.
Okay. First off, it is back to school season, so I feel like this was a pretty good, topic. So we're actually going to start out with some back to school tips. So I know we've had 2 children that have gone to school, but this year we have one of our kids is going to school for the first time. So some of these tips helped with our older kids whenever they first started school. And then also I found some new tips that are going to help with this child going to school that I didn't know about.
There we go.
For our other kids. So the first one that people suggested was obviously, which I feel like a lot of people know this one, is just getting up early, starting their routine a week or 2 before school starts. Seems, it's a good idea.
Especially with us, considering right now our kids have kind of gotten into that summer routine where, and we've gotten a little lax with it, right?
Yeah.
Let them stay up a little later if we're watching a movie, something like that. I don't get home sometimes till late at night, so we let them stay up a little later so I can spend more time with them and they can see me. But yes, we're actually doing that right now.
Yeah.
Just a little FYI for everybody, we record our episodes at night while all of our children are sleeping. So
because if we didn't, you would hear
it'd be chaos.
All sorts of different things in the background. Okay, so this one, which I didn't know beforehand, which is a really good idea for new school students, pre-K, kindergarten, kids who have never been to school before, have them practice using their lunchbox and, timing out their lunch period to eat because, because our kids are just so used to sitting down and, taking their time. And
the table.
They have their food in front of them, but they have to practice opening their lunchbox, getting everything out, opening their food themselves. And then it gives you a good idea of what you can't, what you shouldn't put in their lunchbox if they can't open a certain thing, or if you should open it beforehand. That's a good idea.
I'm so generally shocked right now just for the sheer fact of, now that I'm thinking about it, Daniel and Wyatt, eat everything and put their stuff away.
Yeah, and
Cooper snacks.
Yeah,
he'll eat a little bit, then go somewhere, eat a little bit. But he can't.
He can't do that at school.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm genuinely kind of mind blown about that one right now. It seems so simple, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah, it does. Right? Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Set out their outfits for the week. So I know we used to set out outfits the night before.
I've seen something like that.
That takes off, one step of your daily routine.
I seen a tip where someone went and bought those cheap plastic things from Walmart and they labeled them Monday through Friday.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
It is a good idea, especially I feel like when you have multiple kids, you can just say, okay, go get your clothes, go get your outfit for the day. They know which one to get.
Yeah.
Easy, simple.
All right, a couple more, and then let's get into our we have such a good topic of the week this week.
Yeah, we do. Use your Alexa or set a timer for certain.
Alexa, be quiet.
Set a timer for the different things you have to do for the day. So get dressed, just eat your breakfast,
or a schedule, a practicing
kind of, yeah.
schedule.
So you as the parent, you're not the one that's nagging.
Oh yeah. And they probably might think it's cool.
Yeah, and it kind of gives them a better idea of how to, So that was one that a couple of people suggested. This is what I did do this one with Daniel. I didn't know about it with Wyatt, but I did do this one with Daniel. It's called the I miss you button. And what I did is I would either put a stamp or a heart on his hand.
I remember that.
Yeah. And I would tell him, if you miss me while you're at school, push the button and I will feel it. And, I will give you a hug or a kiss,
Yeah, that was, so to kind of go a little deeper into that one, Daniel being our first together, he was extremely attached to you, and because you stayed at home, right? and he'd known nothing
He had
else.
never been anywhere else. You know?
And with Wyatt, like we talked about previously, his mother and I, we have shared custody. So he goes half the week there and then half the week here. So
he was more used to,
he was kind of used to the, plus
he
he went to daycare for a little bit.
he had been in daycare and stuff previously.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as hard of a transition for Wyatt as it was for Daniel. And
I remember you drawing the little things.
Yeah.
Remember he wanted like a dinosaur in his hand?
He wanted a Batman one time.
Oh yeah, I drew the Batman.
Yeah. So we got creative with it. So you don't have to get that creative, but it helped him because he would miss me and he'd push the button, and in their little kid mind,
Yeah, it does help. So
and he would come home and he'd be like, "Did you feel me push the button?" I'm like, yes, I did.
Yeah, that's cute.
And then the last, and I feel like the most important back to school tip is, especially on the kids' first day, do not let them see you cry. You have to drop them off with a big smile on your face, like this is the best thing in the world, and that you are so excited, and that they need to be excited.
I'm so excited for Cooper to go to school.
Stop.
I took that day off just so I could be there, with him, with the kids in their first day. I think Cooper needs it.
Oh, for sure.
More, just because he has been so used to being home.
Yeah. But he's also such an energetic kid. Like
he's so much energy.
He is gonna have so much fun. There's so much to do.
Yes.
Like he gets bored so easily. So doing all the things at school, I think it's gonna be really good for him.
Agreed. I'm excited for him to experience school and go through that.
He also loves making friends.
Yes.
So every time we go to the park, he's like, "I made a new friend."
Yeah, he did that today. Today
single
he goes
time
to the park. This is the first thing he told me. I made a new friend, Dad.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So those are your back to school tips.
Back to school tips, man. This episode is rocking. You got some good bad dad jokes. Got some good tips. Now let's get into our topic of the week, which is, this one was great, and we had a very long conversation about it. Mm-hmm. We, with it going back to school. With all three of our sons going to be back into school, we really looked at, and we've had such good connection with the teachers that our children have had. We looked at a couple things. Now, to give some background from my perspective on teachers. Well, actually, get the question first, and then I'll give it my.
Let me read off the question,
because I think the question, in my perspective, your perspective, kind of shed some light on it. And then we actually had several teachers that are friends of ours replied to.
Yeah. So my question was, what are some of the biggest struggles you have faced as a teacher in the recent years? Second part, teachers who have been teaching for a while, what are some things that you have faced now that you didn't really have to worry about in the beginning years of your teaching career? Third part, is teaching now harder or easier, and why?
So just kind of a breakdown, right? Just a quick and easy, teaching issues you go through now, teaching things you did back then, and then how are they different? Essentially, kind of the quick breakdown on that. So I just want to give a quick perspective on teaching. I went to public school my entire school life. I also went to a trade school, went to a VOTEC school my last 2 years of high school. So I got to experience kind of like two different worlds a little bit. That being said, I think our education system these days is a direct reflection on our teachers and environment. And I think as a whole, we're not providing for teachers like we should be. My personal belief is that we would get, for everybody out there that complains about teachers and all this different stuff, we would get a better quality of teacher if they were paid more. I think how teachers are supported and how teachers are paid is disgusting. First, it's absurd, right? There's a country song that says, I think teachers should be paid as much as doctors and lawyers. I firmly believe that.
Well, we rely on these teachers for
a lot of things.
12 plus years
Yeah.
to teach the things to our children that we can't or
Yep.
don't want to.
Yep.
And we rely on them. They are with our children for 12 years.
Now, we're not going to get political on this. we're just going to keep it very general. There are certain things that teachers should not be teaching in school that parents should be responsible for teaching. But again, we used to have the system we had in place, for our country was great. I loved going to school. I still remember to this day, Miss Fertig, Miss Sterling, Miss Wheatgraff, Miss Tuttle, right? Mr. Kennedy. I mean, I can list off teachers that I had that made significant impacts in my life. And I just feel like nowadays, those kinds of teachers are very few and far between.
Yeah.
It used to be like 80% of teachers loved their jobs and 20% were just there for a check.
Yeah.
I personally feel like because of and I think that was mentioned, like the school boards, the funding, all that stuff, I think it's opposite. I think 20% of teachers love their jobs. I think 80% of that are just there for a paycheck now because of the system that we have.
Yeah, not at any fault of the teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So we got a lot of similar responses, which I was...
If you kind of had to categorize it, like what do you think the commonalities between most of them? And this is teachers that teach high school all the way through like kindergarten. Like we've had kind of the gamut.
So the most answered, the most answered.
Yeah.
Whatever.
The most answered. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
The most answers you got, or most common answer you got.
Most common answer, thank you, was parents. Parents are difficult. And because there are so many parents that are reliant on the teachers to teach everything, not just curriculum, but social and emotional skills that they aren't teaching at home.
Yes.
And that was the biggest thing.
So read the first name of the person, right? And then,
yeah, because a lot of these, I got a lot of like private messages that were worried about.
Yeah, no, we're not going to put just like kind of the first name and then what they said.
So funny enough, Karen, she's not a Karen though.
That's got to be side note. That has to be the worst thing in the world is the whole Karen thing.
Yeah.
And when your name is Karen and you're actually awesome.
Yeah.
That blows.
Yeah.
Shout out Karens out there that are actually not Karens.
Yeah. So her answer, it's kind of a long one, but she said, my biggest issue has less to do with students and more to do with parents and curriculum, which impacts the students. Parent attitudes before school and at home after school impacts the students' overall attitude at school. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't have a stressed morning and expect your child to be cool, calm, and collected at school that day.
Yep.
So how many times have you been stressed in the morning before work and then it just ruined the rest of your day?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're tiny humans. So
and they feed off of it.
Oh,
kids
for sure.
feed off that
Absolutely.
energy.
Yep. When a student has an issue with another student, it's almost always because the parent has said something negative about that student or the student's parent, or so it's like starts at home, right?
Yeah. So
the feud starts at home.
Essentially, like I don't like Billy's mom.
Yeah.
You shouldn't hang out with Billy at school. And the kid goes to school and he's like, I don't like Billy anymore because my mom doesn't like Billy.
Yep. And then she said curriculum is forever changing. Finances sometimes don't even have all the supplies for the students, which is so sad. That should be provided.
Yeah. And so one thing that we do, and this is not like toot our own horn here, but this just because we value our children's education and we have the financial means to do it. What we do is like we ask the teachers when they get assigned, we ask them what they need more of.
So there's always a school supply list of what you need to get your children, but almost always your teacher needs more than that.
Yeah, we're not dropping thousands of dollars by any means.
No.
We're buying like extra tissues, extra hand sanitizer, extra markers.
Like this past year in Daniel's kindergarten class, she had all the supplies she needed, but she needed extra snacks for snack time.
Yeah.
So we would like every couple weeks or once a month, I think it was roughly, send Daniel with extra snacks. Because I mean, there's been days where I forgot to pack him a snack, so just having the snacks there for kids who...
Yeah, and we've been very fortunate. We've had phenomenal teachers for our kids.
Yes.
I feel like the area that we're in, also, we're very lucky. They have very good teachers.
For sure.
I know that's not the case. And like we talked about, I think I think after talking with some of these people, the curriculum, just the fun, plans that teachers used to be able to do, a lot of those I think are going away. And I think
so Ashley says, first off, I love where I work. I think the issues lie within various boards of education in the state. People in admin power who haven't been in a classroom in years. Teaching isn't fun anymore. There is such a push for rigor and small groups and overall achievement. I don't get to plan fun lessons. I'm given a curriculum and expected to read from the book. I have to stay on a relative pace in order to get everything taught, whether the kids are ready or not. I get graded if I use the curriculum or not. Curriculum should be a great resource, but not something I have to use religiously. I remember growing up and doing all these fun lessons and activities that weaved the learning through. We don't do that anymore. COVID and the iPad generation have created an entire group of kids who have little to no social emotional skills. There's that brought up again. So I'm expected to fix that. I'm responsible for 20 plus lessons a day, main subjects, small groups, everything. I can only speak for elementary, but everything, and I mean everything, falls on the classroom teacher. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This would be a lot different if these people were getting paid 70, 80, 90, 100 grand a year, right? These expectations would be a little more understandable to meet. But this hits kind of close to home to us. So your sister, my sister-in-law, who I love to death, she went to school for teaching. Yeah. That's what she thought she was going to do. Yeah. And teachers were in such need. And essentially the qualifications, I think, is, don't quote me on this, I think from talking to somebody who substitute taught, you only need like an associate's degree or you need so many college credit hours to substitute. Anyways, they had her like teaching a class as a student because they didn't have a teacher. Yeah. Like, so it's crazy. So then she goes into it and then she spends all this money in college, does all this stuff, and then realizes like,
I don't want to do this.
I don't want to do this. Yeah. Because she had that same exact experience. She was going to school, or she was going to these classrooms, and she was like, I have to be a therapist, a counselor, I have to be like a disciplinarian, I have to, like, all this stuff. Yeah. Because it's teachers are kind of turning into the same situation as like police officers, right? Police officers, they don't get paid a lot for what they do, and then they have to go to certain things where they have to be like, counselors and psychologists and therapists and all different stuff just to de-escalate a situation. Yeah. Teachers have to do the same exact thing. You get a kid that's going ballistic because, something's going on with him, and like they talked about, they just don't have the emotional stability at home, right? And everyone parents different. By no means are we perfect, and we're growing every single day. But there was a situation in the store with a classmate of Daniel's, our middle son, who we listened, and by no means are we bashing his parents at all. That's one of the things we talked about in the first episode. If you missed it, it's going to be up around here somewhere. You can go back and watch that, and we talked about the whole like parenting perfect thing, right? But you seen the way he was acting, and his parent was screaming at him in the middle of the store. Yeah. Which cussing, then caused him to scream. Yeah. Like
repeating back and forth the same thing.
It was literally like that someone was yelling in a mirror. Yeah. Same tone, same everything. The difference was this was a 6-year-old boy yelling at a mother and mother yelling at him. It was just, it was bananas. So teachers have to deal with those kinds of things. Yeah. Right? The disrespect.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's like you said, everybody parents different and everyone does things different in their own home. So you're already having to deal with like different routines for different kids. And like you, as a teacher, you have to get your kids all on the same routine and schedule at the school. Yep. And so you're already trying to like navigate and manage that, which that's always like, it's always been that way. Everybody, does things different, even when we were in school. Right. Yeah. But it's just, I feel like it's a lot more now. There's so many different
distractions. Yeah. So many things going on that kids' attention spans are shorter and shorter and shorter. And just the other part of it too is like, a lot of times the kids go to school, it's really the only time they get to see their friends. They may not have siblings. They may not be close with anybody. So when they go to school and they see their friends, they want to talk. Yeah. It was Daniel or Daniel or Wyatt that had to go sit in like the timeout chair or whatever because he kept talking.
It was Wyatt.
That's right. Wyatt would get in trouble because he would just talk. Like he loved talking to people, and he's very friendly. We're very fortunate. But then he even got in trouble, right? Yeah. So there's just, like I said, by no means are we perfect, but we try to make sure that our kids, when they go to school, they're respectful. Yeah. They raise their hand, they do the things. And one of the teachers is saying like that a lot of that's not happening at home anymore. And there's the baby. So if you're seeing this right now, that means the baby woke up and we had to pause our recording. So now is a good time to remind all of you to leave a comment down below on this week's topic. Let us know what you think about it. Also remember to like this video, share it out to your friends, family, anybody out there who you think may be interested in this content. And then also go follow and subscribe on all of our social media channels: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you are going to listen on our podcast platforms, please leave a 5-star review if you can, and a comment as well. On all of our channels, we want to try to get to 5,000 followers by the end of the year. So a little over 4 or 5 months left. So you can help out. That would be great. Last but not least, patreon.com/Modern Parents Podcast. $5 a month. Get some extra MPP in your life, and there's some perks and benefits that go along with it. One of them is an exclusive episode every single week. So not only do you get your regular Modern Parents Podcast, you also get an extra one as well for being a Patreon supporter. So again, patreon.com/Modern Parents Podcast, $5 a month, 16 cents a day, and you can help us grow this amazing community. We'll be right back after the baby goes back to sleep. And we're back, everybody. So thank you, sweetheart, for going to take care of the baby real quick.
Absolutely.
Benefits of breastfeeding, dads. You don't have to do anything. No, I'm just kidding. What we were talking about is we do everything we possibly can to make sure that our kids are good humans going into school.
Absolutely.
And then what was the rest of what? Who was this that said it?
Ashley.
Ashley.
So with that being said, it is our job as parents to, make sure our kids are good humans and they're being kind. However, Ashley, she said, I can handle any bad kid. I can handle any behaviors. What I can't handle is the amount of expectations that fall on a teacher. Parents, admin, the state, they make teaching miserable.
So, to kind of break all that down, what she's saying is she's very qualified to do her job. She can take care of a lot of those kids. It seems like the administration itself is causing issues, and I don't want to defend the administration too much here, but I will say a lot of it, they do have certain pressures for funding and other issues as well. So they may feel like they have to do certain things to get funding, to do, and I don't, my question is, they're getting funding. It's not going to the teachers.
No. Yeah.
Right. I wish we had a chart that showed like how much funding schools get versus how much, like the overall how much funding schools get versus how much teachers get, because I bet you it would be like this.
Right.
So anyways, it's just being a teacher these days is tough. I want to reiterate by saying we are very large advocates of teachers, and especially helping to take care of our children's teachers as best as possible. But there are some people that can't do that, but showing support for teachers, showing up to certain things if you can to help out. Like you said earlier, teachers are vitally important to the growth of our children.
Yeah, seriously, like we really do rely on them for so much.
Yeah.
And as much as I do work with them at home on certain things, there was just one, I'm their mom, so they're not always going to want to just sit down and do something with me. And two, like, there's just things that I'm not very good at.
Yeah.
But, like, I do sit down and I work with them on things, and we've gotten them
we got the workbooks.
The workbooks.
Yeah.
And, we.
Yeah, go to Walmart, get a $14 workbook.
Yeah, but that still, like, that only does so much. Like,
yeah.
We didn't go to school to learn how to teach kids. Like,
yeah.
I think that's where the line is. Like, I don't know how to properly, like, teach them certain things,
Yeah.
Like
2 + 2 is 4, boy.
Well, Jesus.
like it used to be back when our parents and grandparents went to school. You get to 8th grade and it's like, that's all you need. Get like that factory needs a worker. That corn needs shucked. Like and now it's just there's the expectations.
There's a lot of expectations on teachers, but there's also a lot of expectation on kids. Like what our kids are learning in the grades that they're in now, I don't think we learned that until like later.
I remember the the OGTs, the Ohio graduation tests. I'm from Ohio originally. I'm not going to tell you where we live now because that's weird. But I'm from Ohio originally, and I grew up during the phase of like the OGTs, and it was like a big deal. They were like testing everybody to see where you were at, and like the counties were all competing to see who had the best. It was just like there's a lot of pressure put on kids where it's like it went from being school was fun to like it felt like
you were a number.
Yeah, you were a number, and like you were looked down upon. It more turned into you were looked down upon for getting bad grades instead of being helped to get good grades. And I grew up in a home where my youngest brother had a learning disability, so my parents focused a lot of their efforts on getting him through school. Sometimes didn't have the energy or the time to sit down and really help me with my stuff. And my oldest brother was a genius. He literally could he could take a nap during class and get an A on the test. He was just an incredibly smart guy. But again, I kind of felt like I got lost in the middle a little bit, and I really didn't learn to read until I was in 4th grade. And it was Mrs. Fertig, and Tammy Dalrymple, who noticed that I was having issues, and it was just like they took aside their time and taught me how to read. I was in 4th grade and didn't know how to read. Like, so, and I'm a decent intelligence, right? I'm not some savant by any means, but it was one of those things where if a teacher had not taken the time to notice those things,
how long would it have taken for
or how long, where would I be?
Yeah.
Right? So, and that's not a knock on my parents by any means. They both worked full time. They were living paycheck to paycheck. They were trying to take care of a kid who was in and out of jail and a kid who was special needs, like, being the middle child and being normal, right? I fell through the cracks a little bit, but I don't hold that against them by any means, right? I have to break the cycle, right?
Yeah.
So when the teacher noticed that our oldest son, Wyatt, was having issues, he's dyslexic. So it was, we kind of noticed a little bit, like maybe he's just not interested. What's going on here?
That's originally what we thought. We just thought he wasn't interested really in like reading. So we went out and bought him books. Or, like you took him with you to go pick out books that he wanted to read.
Yes.
And that helped for sure. And his issue really isn't with the reading aspect, it's the writing.
Yeah, which that was good. We were able to kind of close that gap a little bit and figure that out.
Which I didn't know that there were so many different like branches in like of dyslexia. Like I had no idea.
But again, it took a teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
To recognize that and say, hey, I think there's other options here. So teachers are incredibly important. And I think one of the, kind of going into the different parts of that question, what's different now between then and that's one of the biggest things that they said is like we don't get to have fun in class anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of the curriculum is based off of a book, which don't get me wrong. I'm a firm believer in teachers should teach an unbiased curriculum, math, both sides of history, reading and writing. I don't think all this craziness going on in today's day and age is in my opinion proper. Again, not going to get into the politics of it. It's not what we're here to do, but there are certain things that teachers should communicate with parents on, and it shouldn't just be stuck to the book, right? It should be, this year in Daniel's class, the teacher for like biology, like, that kind of stuff, to learning about animals, we went fishing.
Yeah.
Like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And no big deal. Our son caught the most fish. Wasn't a competition,
13
but he caught
fish.
13 fish. He's 6 years old.
Yeah.
So crushing it. But he's
that was a proud parent.
He's such a kind, gentle soul
God,
that he was giving up his fishing spots to people who hadn't caught fish. He was literally going over to kids in the class and be like, "Hey, do you want to come fish over here?" Because they were upset that they weren't catching fish, and they'd come over he would give his spot up, which, it just side note on this, it was so funny because all he wanted to do was catch a big catfish. He'd caught like a bunch of other little fish,
yeah,
and someone caught a catfish, and that's his sole focus, is he wanted to catch a monster catfish. So anyways, that was fun. That was cool.
Yeah.
So they got to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I wish there was a little more learning they got to do. Now the nice thing is, though, is like I said, we have very good teachers in this area. Yeah. Everything is the teachers are very communicative with the parents, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the things they talked. What was the third part of that question? Do you remember?
The third.
We got off on a tangent.
We did.
So we went through what a teacher's difficulties now. What are the differences between now and then? And what was the third part of that question?
Just, is teaching now harder or easier, and why?
Oh, and everyone said it was harder.
Yeah.
Literally every single teacher we asked said teaching now is harder.
Yeah.
So between parents, obviously parents play a huge part in this, right?
Yes.
We as parents can dictate a large portion of how our children act at school.
Yeah.
And with all the distractions, with all of the technology, with all the things, it's very hard to get kids to sit down and pay attention and listen and everything else. So the more we can do at home, if you have any parenting tips on what's worked for you, leave them in the comments down below for other parents. And if you're a teacher, right, and you're watching this right now, let us know your story. Let us know, down in the comments on any of our social media posts, what can we do as parents to help, and what can this community do of modern parents, of anybody that's listening to this podcast, that's listening to this video, what you would want to inform them and tell them, or maybe someone who's listening to this that wants to become a teacher.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was a good question of the week.
Yeah, I think so too. One, it's back to school season, but it's a good topic, and I feel like more people need to discuss.
Yeah. One, we're very involved with teachers, with our kids, so
for sure. Like we've said multiple times throughout this video, is like we rely so heavily on our teachers, and we need to treat them well because we want them to treat our kids well.
Maybe that's one of the things we can do with our. Maybe it's one thing we'll talk about maybe later on. Once our Patreon blows up and gets real big, we can donate money to like teachers and that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
So
I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So again, that's going to be this week's episode. We did some funny, good/bad dad jokes. We did some back to school tips, and then obviously give some love and support to our teachers out there. Kind of, explain what they're going through. Because one of the things we want to do that is not a lot of teachers can talk about how they really feel because they're afraid to lose their jobs.
Yeah, which is also like...
Yeah, this is something that we get to do to kind of like help them out a little bit and talk about it. So with that, this has been Modern Parents Podcast Episode 2. So thank you so much for tuning in.
I'm Danielle.
And I'm Vince. And we will see you next week.
Yeah.